So first of all, welcome to our third installment of this series on digital feedback and assessment. And I do want to go into a few housekeeping things, just simply because
I'm sorry.
Another digital takeout.
So, President, I heard your little friend kind of new.
Okay, so with our digital housekeeping, just keep your mic muted. Also, if you have questions, put those into the chat box and we'll answer those as we go along in the chat. And if we don't hit something, then we'll do that during the Q&A time. And then if Lauren or Rosalind will get the slide deck in the chat, if you'll put that link in the chat, we recommend that you just keep it open and pin it. That way you can refer to it periodically as we're going through, and that way you also have it available for later. As always as well, we want to point out the Google Meet expectations guide. We kind of do this to model, but we've got a link right there in the slide deck of an example that Lauren created with her Bitmoji. So you can use that to make a copy and then tweak it and adjust it to meet your needs. So I believe everybody on here knows, but I'm Angie White, the Director of Instructional Technology with Oldham County Schools. We have Rosalind Manning, Digital Learning Coach, and Lauren Rata, another digital learning coach that we have in our district. And they'll be presenting most of what we have tonight. We do like to point out that we are looking at our standards for online teaching as we're doing any professional learning. And in this series, we're looking at 3 standards in particular, standard D, G, and H of the online teaching standards from iNicole, which is now Aurora. We're not going to spend a lot of time going through these, but we do have a link at the top if you'd like to go in and look at those at any point in time. So tonight, I changed up the quote that I usually put in here, and it deals more with feedback. And it's from John Hattie. The most powerful single modification that enhances achievement is feedback. And most of you know that John Hattie is a well-known researcher who's done lots of studies in the area of education. And the particular study that we're looking at for this quote, he is basically doing a meta study where he basically collected and analyzed and compared 50,000 previous studies in education. So it's very comprehensive. And so when we're looking at his findings, he found effect sizes to report how impactful various interventions and educational practices were. So an effect size of 0.2 is small, and 0.5 is considered medium, and 0.8 is large. And when looking at feedback, his study showed that the effect of feedback was 0.73. So that's very effective. So we want to make sure that in the past couple of sessions, we really focused on formative and summative assessment, but the feedback part of that formative assessment is so important. So we see that from the study that feedback is one of the top 10 influences for student achievement. And just very briefly, with formative and summative assessment, remember that formative assessment is ongoing feedback that takes place while a content or learning cycle is going on. That summative assessment is to evaluate that student's learning at the end of that learning cycle. And I'm going to turn it over to, let's see, I think it's Rosalind.
Yes. Okay. So I will go ahead and share my screen with y'all so you can see the slide deck again. And here we go. So can y'all see that okay? All right. So the first thing that we're going to go over, and I know some of y'all are folks who have been in our digital takeout previously, but we've got quite a few new faces in here as well. So we just wanted to go over the format of the slide deck. We've kind of got this color coded. And so for every single tool that we're going to go over today, we'll go over 3 tools, and then one of them is kind of like an extra, like a digital dessert. And so for each of the tools, we'll have the blue overview slide, which gives you some links and resources for how to get started. Because we are moving pretty quickly through the tools, we wanted to make sure that we gave you as many resources as we could. So that blue slide is an overview slide. And then the next slide is going to be a green assessment slide. And then we'll give some kind of helpful tips and that sort of thing on assessments using that tool. And then if it's applicable to the tool, there may also be a feedback slide as well. Some of the tools do both assessment and feedback, but some of them may just be assessment. And so we may not always have that purple feedback slide. And then for all of the tools, we also have the orange examples and resources for later. And these are just kind of resources that we've curated so that you can always go back for anything helpful resources that you might need in the future as you're going through the tools and kind of applying those to your classroom. So and that's what we're looking at in terms of like the format of the slides. So the first tool that we're going to look at, the Actively Learn. So, and I forgot to mention this, our first tool is always like a deep dive tool. And so we'll spend about 20 minutes on that. And then the next 2 tools are just kind of like a quick dip, little 10 minutes for each of those tools. So we'll spend about 20 minutes here on Actively Learn. And Actively Learn it's a digital platform. It's a website that you can use to build lessons for your students. And you're basically importing articles. It could be an internet article, a Google Doc, a PDF, or videos. And then you can embed questions within your lesson. And so where, years ago, you may have just printed out an article and written questions in and had kids annotate that way. Actively Learn really allows you to push these assignments even through Google Classroom, which makes it great for ease of access in the classroom, but also for NTI or VLA. And so you can embed questions within whatever that reading is, and even within videos as well. So I've got some resources here for how to sign up, how to import your classes from Google Classroom, but I wanted to show you what this actually looks like. And so, oh, it logged me out. Oh man. Okay. I had it all set up. So I'm just going to log in with Google. And then that is not the screen I wanted to be on. So give me just a second. There we go. So this is your Actively Learn homepage. So once you've logged in, you've created your account, this is the page that you're going to see. You can see over here on the left-hand side that I've got my classes imported. Some of them, actually, I think all of these are from Google Classroom. And so you can just add classes with this plus button here. This first page is basically, this is preloaded content that's already in Actively Learn. And so you have a lot of options here for what you can use. If you want to find an article that's here, I can show you up in this top bar. You can search by grade level here. You can also change the Lexile level as well. And so you can search that way. If you want to include something here, I'm just going to show you as an example. I might want to use this Halloween's Scary Fairies in my classroom. And so I can go ahead and assign it the way it is just by hitting this plus button. Or if I think that I might want to customize it for my own class, I can click on it. And once I click on it, you can see what the questions are. And so it gives you assignment directions up here, which is something that you can create as well. And this is pretty much what the kids are going to see as well. So if you're wondering what it's going to look like from a student view, it's pretty much going to look like this. When you assign it, this is what kids will see. Do you participate in Halloween? And then they can select whatever their answer option is here. And then as they scroll, they've got this reading. You can see that there are highlighted words, and then you can give them some annotations or notes over here on the side margin. And this says Mrs. Manning. That's not me. That just happens to be the person who created this article. So just a coincidence there. But so you've got this article, and then within the article, you've got questions here. And so kids can answer questions throughout. And it makes it really easy to be able to insert a question exactly where you want them to answer it, instead of having an article and then answer these 6 questions at the end. It's really nice to kind of get them thinking throughout their reading. So if this is something you would want to use in your classroom, you could go ahead and assign it, but it's also possible that you don't really love it and you want to use the article, but you want to change the questions to fit whatever it is you're doing in your classroom. You can click Customize. And so this actually allows you to, I could go in with these 3 dots here and just delete this question, or I can edit the question. I can take away answer options if I want to. I can make it multiple choice. So I've got some options here. I'm going to hit cancel. I can also go in and maybe I like everything. I just want to add something myself. I can do that. I can select this text right there. And as soon as you select text, it gives you the option to insert a question, a note, a link, or you can even white it out, which can be great if you import like an article from a website somewhere else. It might have ads or just things that you don't want to show up on the student screen. And so you can white that out as well. So this is just using that preloaded content. Once you're ready, you can assign it. And I'm just going to assign it to my test class just to show you kind of what that process looks like. And this is through Google Classroom. So I'm going to click Assign. And it says, you'll notice, posting your assignments as drafts in Google Classroom. So you would have to go to Google Classroom and post it from there. It seems like an extra step, but I actually kind of like that because I like kind of having that control over when it actually goes out to students. So you may not really like that, but I actually really did enjoy that as a teacher in my classroom, being able to kind of control when that went out. So I'm going to go back to my home screen here. Again, that is using preloaded content, preloaded articles here. But you can also import your own resources to be able to use. And in order to do that, this is your home screen. You're going to go to My Imports. And you can see I have already gotten, I've got some things in here. I've deleted a few things as well, just as I don't need them. One thing to keep in mind for Actively Learn, with the free version, you're looking at only having 3 imports per month. And so, like as I was creating my resources for this, I was very careful not to use up all of my imports. And my imports will start all over again on October. Well, I guess it's either October 31st or November 1st. I'm not sure which one, but it's 3 imports per month for that free version. So just be careful of that. One thing, if you're secondary and you've got multiple classes that you're assigning to, you can import one assignment and then assign it to multiple classes. And that still just counts as one import, as long as you're using that exact same assignment for each of the classes you're assigning it to. So I wanted to show you what this looks like. So once you go to My Imports, you go to Add Content, and then you have some options here. You can import internet article, import Google Doc, upload PDF, whatever. So I'm just going to import a Google Doc just so you can kind of see what this looks like. Give me just a second. For my folders. Let's see. Well, I won't do that. I'll just go ahead and do an internet article. And I'm going to pull up a link here. I'm going to go to news about, I don't know, COVID-19. And I'll just pull up something random. And then I'll click on here, copy and paste that link there. And then I'm going to come here and Control V, or you can right click and paste it. And you can see it'll tell you, no, you have one remaining import this month. This limit will reset on October 31st. And so in 2 days, it will reset and I'll have 3 more. So I'm going to click next. And then I can give it a title. I'll leave that. It's the article title, so I'll just leave that there. You can change the author, the content type. I'll put it under science and hit done. Okay, and so now this is here in my imports, and when I'm ready to edit it, all I have to do is click on it. And I can add directions for students here. And then hit save. And you'll notice if there's like a little lock button, that just means it's a premium feature. So you can add a pre-reading question, which I always recommend doing. It's nice to kind of get kids thinking about the topic before you get started reading. So pre-reading question, you have short answer, multiple choice, and a poll. And I can just say, what is your experience with COVID-19? And do that. You'll also notice, I'm going to delete that real quick. There are question stems. And so it gives you some ways to kind of start a question. Sometimes, like if I'm having a brain block as I'm trying to write something or create a lesson, something like this could really help. So you also have that as well. Okay, and then I'll hit save. And so as you go through this, you can choose where you're going to insert questions, all of that. And like I said earlier, all you have to do is select the text and your options will show up right away. So you can insert a question, insert a note, insert a link, or white out. So you can go ahead and insert that question. Again, you've got short answer, multiple choice, or poll. And then let's see. Try that again. And then you can also insert a note. And all this is going to do is just have a note in the margin for students. This could be a really great way to give them some context for vocabulary, some historical context for things that maybe it's not quite something you've studied, but it would be important to understand the meaning of the text. So really, really good place to clarify vocab, clarify context of things as well. And then, of course, you can select categories here, and then I'm just going to hit save. And you can see here it shows Mrs. Manning, and then it gives my note there. And so as students are reading, they're going to see this highlight here, and they'll be able to look over here and see Mrs. Manning, here is my note. And so that would be whatever very important note that I have for them to read there. And as you continue, again, you can I'll insert a question, and I'll use short answer. How would you describe or what evidence supports this example? And then hit save. And so you've got those things there as well. And I wanted to also show you what that white out option looks like. I might just decide that this final paragraph is not important and I can white it out. And then it's not even this big white space. It's just blank. And you can see it's got that eraser there. And so if you decide, oh my gosh, I've whited that out by accident, I didn't mean to do that. You can click that eraser and restore that text as well. So you can always undo that. And then you can add a question to the end of the section as well. And so you can, I'll add a question stem in. Can you analyze the impact of COVID-19? That's a pretty loaded question, right? And then hit save. And so that would be there at the end. So you've got a lot of different options for how you embed questions and embed content. But one of the things that I love is that I can import Google Docs because I might have Google Docs that I've used for passages, for analyzing passages or whatever it may be. And I don't want to have to like retype all of that up or go find it on the internet. Like I can just import things that I've already got. And then when you're ready, you can hit assign. And again, I'm just gonna select my test class and hit assign, and it posts as a draft in my Google Classroom. And so when I'm ready, and I'll go show you, when I'm ready to post it, I can do that. There it is. Okay. And if I go to classwork, all of these gray ones here, those are those drafts, and all I have to do is click on this. I'm going to edit assignment and then just go ahead and assign that. And so those show up there. Before I get started into the feedback part of this, I just wanted to check. I'm going to come over here and check the chat to see if I have any questions here.
So Rosalind, I had posted a question as far as, is there a limit on how many that you can have in your imports? You're limited to 3 per month, but could you build your library? Because many times you'll have the same, if it's an article, yes, that's going to change. But a lot of times some of the content that you might want to import, you might use year to year.
Yeah, I am not, honestly, I don't know 100%. I did try to find that, but the only thing I could find was 3 imports per month. So I'm not 100% sure, but the only thing I could find was the monthly import limit.
Okay, thanks. I was just wondering if that would be a way to get around that in the long run.
Right. Yep, that makes sense. Are there any other questions about Actively Learn, what it looks like, how to create assignments or things that you can do with it as you're creating?
Rosalind, does it have a read feature on those articles, or is that something that would have to be used in accommodations, like with the program on a particular student's computer?
You know, I don't know. I have not seen one, and I've played with it quite a bit, but that's a great question. Let me write that down because I'll do some research on that.
I'll do some searching while you're doing that. So Carrie, you're talking about a reader, like an immersive reader kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll do a little bit of searching.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I'm going to share my screen again, but I'm going to jump into the feedback part of this, which honestly is probably one of my favorite parts of Actively Learn. And so when you are ready to give feedback to students, all you really need to do is go to the class period. So I've clicked on second period English 2. And I've already got this open in another tab, but so I'm just going to use that tab. All you would have to do is click on the assignment, and it's going to take you to a page that looks like this. One thing I want to make note of, you'll notice here, these are different student responses. It says anonymous. I have made that change in Actively Learn. Like, I can go to actions and show student names. I'm not doing that right now just for confidentiality purposes. But yours will actually automatically show their names. I went to actions and clicked anonymize student names. And so that is a feature that is there, and I'm using it for these purposes here. So you'll notice here for this first question, it has the question up here. What are at least 3 words and or characteristics that you associate with fire? This passage was dealing with the symbolism of fire and how that reflects some characteristics of one of the characters in the novel. And so I first wanted them thinking about fire. And so I can give them a 0, an incomplete, a basic, a proficient, or advanced. And I can just click that, and that's really quick feedback. Or I can leave like extended feedback to students here as well. If it's basic and I want them to do it again, I'm going to come over here and click allow revision. And that students are going to see on their screen right away that Miss Manning has allowed them to revise their response. And that was just something that I set up with my kids at the beginning. I would say, I always want you looking. If I allow revision, it's because I'm asking you for a revision. I'm not giving you permission. I'm telling you, I want you to revise that question. And so that is really nice to be able to give that quick feedback. And it's right away. I could walk around my classroom with my Chromebook in my hand, clicking buttons and give them feedback immediately. It's in real time. So I love that. And I love that I can give them more specific feedback, especially sometimes if the student is proficient, I want to be able to explain to them what's going to bump them from proficient to advanced, or what's going to bump them from basic to proficient. Think about how you can include this in your response, or is sometimes even just a question, what do you think could make your analysis stronger? And so I really like these options here. And then that 0 is like, you just didn't do it. And then I'm going to allow revision for that. So I really love that I have these very quick options, but I can also type in extended feedback as well. And then I can toggle between questions. So I'll go to question 3. Some of these responses are really, really great. Others of these responses are kind of basic. Like this student here said, he realized his son was like the ash, but Okonkwo was like the fire. I would probably, this student is not wrong, but I would really call this basic because I want to know, how is his son like the ash? How is Okonkwo like the fire? And have them extend on that. And those would be questions that I would leave there for feedback for the student. So really, honestly, my favorite part of Actively Learn is it was so easy for me to give feedback in real time within the classroom, walk around, have conversations with kids. And this is something that you could even do if you're VLA or we go into NTI. This could be something, if you're looking at like a workshop model type Google Meet, you could absolutely have this activity be like their work time activity. And you can all be on the Google Meet, but you're really on Actively Learn, giving them feedback. And while you're on the Google Meet, if you have to do like some redirection or kind of pull them in, turn your microphone on and say, I'm noticing that everybody is doing blah, 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 but I would really like to see you think more about blah, blah, blah. And so this is not just something you can use in the classroom. It could also be self-paced if you wanted to assign it. If you're secondary and you're on A-Day, B-Day, and you want to assign this for their off day, you could absolutely do that. So it does not have to be live. They can be working on this on their own time at home as well. Okay. Before I turn this over to Lauren and her 2 tools that she's going to go over, do I have questions about Actively Learn, feedback, assessment, anything like that? Okay. All right. Well, I will turn it over to Lauren.
All right. Before I get started, I did want to point out that link there in the chat that Dr. White found. I did click on that about Carrie's question with Actively Learn about having students, letting them have the ability to listen without using something separate like Read, Write, Goal, a different extension. And if you click on that link later, if you're interested, it's really awesome. All they have to do is highlight the text, and then when they right click on it, it gives them options to, they could define it, but also speak it. So they can even select just pieces of a passage. It's not that it's going to start at the top and read the whole thing for them. And so that was really neat. And that was right there under that free account as well. So that's really, really neat. So thank you so much, Carrie, for asking that question, and to Dr. White for finding that answer. So great tool. All right, so I'm gonna move us on to what we're going to call like our quicker dip tools, which are Pear Deck and Padlet. So I'm gonna start with Pear Deck, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. can let me know. Perfect. There we are. And so Pear Deck is a tool that I thought that a lot of people had heard of, but it kind of has come to me that it was kind of popular a few years ago, but they had paid versions, they had a free version, and I think that some people kind of got lost in the difference between the two, and now they've really, I feel like, amped up that free version, and so I just wanted to kind of bring that back out there and show you the difference between the two and how you can still use that Pear Deck add-on, that free version, to really help with either synchronous or asynchronous learning in your classrooms. So let's start talking about, well, first, what is it? Pear Deck is that Google Slides add-on. And so if you're not familiar with what an add-on is, Google has specific, what they call add-ons, kind of like little mini apps that you can layer on top of different Google applications. So in Slides, there's specific add-ons you can layer on top of just your slides, or in Docs, there are add-ons just for Docs, and then also for Sheets, add-ons that are specific just for Sheets. So Pear Deck is only, you only are able to use it when you're in Google Slides, but it then helps you to transform your current Google Slides into those engaging lessons. It has a lot of pre-made slides that can be used with pre-K all the way up through 12th grade for assessment. And so this one is going to be kind of assessment only for now. And then they actually are coming out with and kind of have a little bit of a feedback option that you could dig into later. And so with Pear Deck, kind of how it works is, like I said, first you have to have, you have to be in Google Slides, but you do need to make sure you have an account first by going to peardeck.com. And so once you go to peardeck.com, all you have to do is click on the sign in with Google. So you would use your first name last name at oldham.kyschools.us. That would let Pear Deck know that you have an account. Once you have the account, then you do have to install that add-on. And all of these are little tutorials or videos of how to do this. And so once you have that add-on within Slides, then you can activate it and get started using it. So if you need more information on how to get started, please go back and visit this slide here, and it will walk you through that process. But at this time, I'm going to show you what it actually looks like once you have that add-on to get started to use it to assess your students within your classroom. A quick tip I do want to throw out there, because I also, I was trying to layer this on top of a slide deck that we have in our shared slides, and it does not work if you are not the owner of the slide deck. So it's important that it's just right there in your own drive. And so I know that could be important because some teams or departments, they plan all together. They might have a shared drive and they put their daily slides within that folder. That's okay to do, but you're going to have to make a copy of that and put it in your personal drive to be able to add or layer in Pear Deck. So just keep that in mind. And so once you are actually there in Pear Deck, then you have those tools for assessment. Let me show you what this looks like. So let me drag over here. Here are my sample Pear Deck slides I have up here. So the first step is after you've made an account, you've got that add-on, you open up a slide deck. Remember, it has to be yours. And then to actually activate it, I go to my add-ons tab, and here is Pear Deck because I already have it added. And I say open Pear Deck add-on, and it will work down here to pull it up. And then it will appear over here in this right-hand tab. So you stay right here within your slide deck, which is nice. It's not taking you out of your slide deck to a new website or new app, anything else. It's all right here as that add-on. So once I'm here, now I have a lot of options. As you can see, we'll go through this in a minute, but to start the actual lesson when you're ready to present, you just simply go to this button. But I also want to showcase, I call this the hamburger icon. These are kind of like your options. So when you're ready to share and publish, you have that. You have other options here, like requiring students to log in. Right now it's on, so that would mean they're joining with their email, which is helpful for me right now because then I would know students are on with using their Oldham County account. But also when it tracks their data, I know who is going to have this lesson instead of if I turn that off, as you see now, they're joining with an avatar and a nickname. So unless you specifically taught that, have those expectations in classroom management to make sure they're putting in the correct name, you may not know who those students are in their data. So I'm going to keep that swiped on. And then also you can review your sessions here, which takes you to the full, your Pear Deck teacher dashboard online to manage all of your Pear Decks, see the data and stuff. And we'll go through that kind of at the end. So let me take that off. So the main tools for assessment, I love first here, this template library. I think this is a great place to get started because they have, I would say, almost 100 templates that might be specific to customized to your needs. What I like about it is you can take the templates and you can use them as is, or you can even edit them and kind of customize them and make it fit your guided questions or your student needs to make those best fit. So let me show you what that looks like. So within the template library, they have options also within here. So first, they just have those basic lesson builders. These are like beginning of a lesson, quick bell ringers and do nows, because you can see it gives you the preview of what those look like. They have during the lesson, so those quick formative assessments and activities to let students kind of actually apply that content. They have all those here. And then they have the end of the lesson, so more of those kind of a summative assessment or deciding next steps, as well as many other options like critical thinking, social emotional, so SEL. I love this for both in class as well as, I know we're still trying to kind of figure out how we can support our students emotionally when we are in an NTI situation or VLA. So I love this, what's filling your bucket? How are you feeling? This stress check. And so it's not only for our young ones, when we call it bucket filling, but also our secondary kids about stress. So you can also check on their well-being as well as customized ones for littles and each content area. So you can click on those and see all of the options. So I would like to show you here in littles. So they have options. And so it also tells you underneath that activity, how the students are going to participate. So for this one, it's a drawing. So I know that students are going to have to take their finger and physically write in, connect, circle, whatever they're trying to, I'm trying to assess. And then they also have, so draggable, as you can see. So students are dragging objects or manipulatives, numbers. So it tells you what they're going to do. Say text or short answer. Here's a text slide that lets you know how students are going to respond. And you can even click on that question mark to give you more information about it. Something I do want to throw out there is Pear Deck is meant for each student to have their own device to participate. So keep that in mind too. So even if you're not one-to-one, you would need students at some point you'd have to have some sort of rotation model or a system in place in your classroom management wise where students would have that individual opportunity to get the device in their hands to be able to participate. So to actually use it, all you have to do is click on it. As you can see, it says working, and it will throw it into your slide deck over here, just like that. And what I also love about it is it gives kind of directions for the teacher down here and explains to you, what the purpose of this activity is. And so as I can see here, it has fill in the blank. So students are supposed to fill in the blank and they actually draw. And then also you can edit this. So we talked about how I can come here and if I wanted it to be a different word or different object, or they can also do that as well. So maybe if I wanted this to be a different type of bat, maybe I wanted a baseball bat, I could put a B here and I could replace this cat with an image of a baseball bat and have the students use that word as well. And so these are customizable too. So that's very helpful. So that is how you can use that actual, what we call that template library. Also,
Lauren,
oh, yep, sorry, go ahead.
we have a question about when you see the draw option, how does that work?
So, physically, either I take my cursor and I can show you when I start this lesson here in a little bit. I can take my cursor if I'm on, with a mouse, and I get a pencil tool or colors to actually write in the letter A here to participate. If you're using like an iPad or an iPhone, students would take their finger on the screen. If you're using a Chromebook, they'd use the trackpad. And so you literally write in there. So if it says draw, that means they're physically drawing. If it says text, that means they're using the keyboard to type on it, and so on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Next, so you can use the template library, but also you can just add an actual question. So if you have one on your own, none of these are a good fit for you, then you can come here and you can just add these individually on your own. So you could just add a text question. As you can see, that it will add it in very similarly here. So it adds that to the slide, and then I can edit it and make it fit there. And so those are those. Also, though, something to be aware of. I meant to go through those. The difference between that basic and the free, or the free and the Other plans, see these little stars here? As you can see, when I try to click on this one, it will let me know that that is something that's premium. And so as you can see, there's not really a lot of tools that aren't available to us. So there's a few things that you'll notice that are missing, but those are just two right there. But like I said, the template library is still there. And although it says on the website that adding audio to a slide, which I love to support students, it says that's a paid within the premium, but I am 100% sure, as you can see, I have the free version and I am still able to add audio currently to my slides. So maybe that's something they're still letting people right now during these times have that feature. And so I would use it while we can, but it does appear that on their website, as you can see here, that adding audio to slides does appear though here in this column for that individual premium account. And so I will keep it as long as we can, right? Any of those freemiums were fine with me. And so also I'd like to show you how that works. As you notice probably here on my first slide, it did say I included audio. So I see this as a way to support our students to be able to maybe read directions. If there was a passage here, read the passage for them just to help support them when they come to participate in this actual lesson. So to do that, all you have to do, let's come here to this one, or I'll come here to this one. So I can say add audio. And it will either let me upload something I already have, or I can record right from here. So I can say, Pear Deck is a Google Slides add-on that helps transform your current Google Slides into engaging lessons. And I can pause it, continue, save, lets me preview it, and I can add that audio to the slide. It'll pop up here. And so when students, and I'll show you that when you actually start the lesson, it pops up as a little like listening audio. And so students just touch it with their finger or click on it, and it will read them that slide individually. So that's very helpful to support our learners as well. So let's look at, so when you're ready, well, I'm glad that happened. So I'm back to my slide deck. If I still want to open that, remember I have to go to add-ons, Pear Deck, and just activate Pear Deck again. So when you're ready, you can start that lesson and I can, choose, do I want it student pace? They can move at their own pace, or do I want it instructor pace? So I physically can do it. So I'm going to do instructor for now, and it will pull that up here, allow me to launch it, and it allows you to show your students how to get started. So they'll go to joinpd.com, and when they get there, they can type in this code. Remember, I swiped on that they had to, when they connected, that they had to actually connect with their Oldham County accounts, their emails. And so they would have to, after they type in that code, it's going to prompt them to sign in with Google, and students would do the same thing. Use their first name dot last name at stu.oldham.kyschools.us, and then they can participate. Now I'm presenting, and as you can see, it also has another feature I love is it does keep that code up there for us, so that if students come in late, I can quickly click it, let them also join, and get back to my presentation. And so I can continue, and like I said, I'm controlling it right now, and students can participate. As you can see, no one's in here, but another tool I like, I wanted to kind of quickly showcase, is I can show their responses. If there's a great role model, I could show it to the class so everyone's screen sees it. Another thing, you can also lock their screens. And so that allows me to, after they have their work, if I lock it, that means that they cannot change their thinking. And so I can get that true picture of, or if I just, want their attention for a second, I could lock it so that they can't change their thinking as well. So it could be a classroom management thing, but also to get that true assessment of their thinking before you maybe show another student response. And you can individually lock and unlock just a single slide as well. And so as you can see, and you keep on moving through it, here's another, I added that in. There's another type of, they drag the dot to how they're feeling. So another example of that social emotional. And when you're done, you can end it. When you end it, you can not name it, but I highly suggest that you end this, you actually name the session. So that'll help you to keep your data organized. You could do it by date. You could say, maybe assessment and feedback, PD practice, or you could put your class period. And so that's going to help me as a teacher on my dashboard to be able to go retrieve that data. So now it takes me just back to my slides. Okay, see, I'm trying to watch my time too, so I don't go over too much. I still get to Padlet as well. just a quick way for you to be able to see that assessment data though. You could just go to peardeck.com, but also don't forget when you're in slides, if you want to quickly get to your dashboard, you can go here and review your sessions, and it's doing the same thing. It's taking me to the peardeck.com. I'm already logged in, and here you can see my sessions so that I can export my data. So I can see the data if I want to by just clicking on it, but if you want to see the actual student names, you do need to export it to a spreadsheet. So it will do that, and it will create that document. And I guess it's not going to show on that one. No one logged in, but it would have, as you can see here, the Pear Deck, the student's name. So that would be their email, and then all of their data on their individual slides. So that's kind of how you get to that. Something I always notice up here is it lets you know that automatically to kind of keep this cleaned up, that your sessions are archived after 30 days. And so they would appear here, as you can see, instead in your archive. So if you did one and you're like next month, oh no, where'd that go? I would love to go get that student data for that meeting or for that conference with a parent, come to your archives and they might be there instead. So that's kind of that full teacher dashboard. So you do pretty much everything within slides, the creation, the starting, but then if you really want to analyze that data later, that's when you come to that peardeck.com and your actual teacher dashboard to actually see that data. So that's Pear Deck kind of in a nutshell. Let me get my other slides back. Oh, did I exit those? I sure did. Here we go. So that's, and also, as always, all of these slide decks, they are all, we have clickable videos so that if I went through the template library too quickly, come here and watch that YouTube video again. Or if I talked about managing the student responses too quickly, come here and watch these videos later as well. And as always, we always have that orange or salmon colored slide at the end. And these are kind of like the going beyond. Rosalind was able to find a link. If you want free months of premium, go here and click here and check out that. And here's more about overviewing, going to their YouTube channel is very helpful. And the teacher feedback that we've discussed, that right now there's not really a way to give feedback within Pear Deck, but it's coming. But that is one of those paid features I did see under the paid. So that's there as well. So what about our next quick tool? That is Padlet. With Padlet, this is actually, I call this one an oldie, but a goodie, because honestly, I've been using Padlet probably for the last 10 years. But until I really more recently dug into it, I really noticed about how many additional features and tools it has added to really stay relevant and current to help support us as teachers, but as well as support our students. And so they've been really flexible and adaptable to how technology has changed. But it is just a digital collaborative platform that you and your students can use to post ideas, questions, etc. So it kind of started as kind of like a corkboard, and it reminded me of having just Post-it notes that we could click and add and share our thinking in a digital space. You could move those Post-its around. You could add text. I think you could add images 8 or 10 years ago, but that was really about it. But there is so much more you can do with it now. To get started, you can visit these links. A teacher, you do need an account, but for people to post, they do not necessarily actually need an account. So they can get in there and they can post anonymously or put their names also on those actual Padlet posts. But there are ways, because as a teacher, I know you're thinking, oh goodness, that kind of scares me a little bit, but you can moderate, and there are privacy settings. So check out these links on how teachers can, first be able to accept them before they post, as well as there's privacy settings like adding passwords and permissions, and so that not anyone can just join your Padlet. And so there are precautions you can take to make sure this is a safe, collaborative environment as well. Also, you can share them on Google Classroom, which I know can be helpful to quickly click that and make sure it goes there as an assignment for students to post. But I don't want to leave out our Seesaw users. You can also use that link and just post it there within Seesaw as well. So you can still use that within all of our learning environments. And so for Padlet, you can use this for both assessment and feedback, but I'd like to first go into just the assessment. And so let me pull up Padlet in live time, and all of these are, as you can see, clickable. So please go back and watch these videos later as well. So let me pull my Padlet over here. So here's my account. There is of course always free and paid, but for free, I have always had a free account. And once I hit my limit, then I just delete a wall that I don't need anymore, and I create a new one. So that's kind of my workaround. So when you're ready to start a new one, you come to Make a Padlet. There are some different types you can do. So first you can have discussions. So you can choose just to have a wall. It's a brick-like, it just goes anywhere. You can have like a canvas and they're all scattered. You can, if you like it organized, stream it from top to bottom, grid in different rows, a shelf. And so a shelf is helpful. I like to think of this if you want like headers or labels at the top, like a KWL chart, like what I know, what I want to learn, what I learned or whatever. You can do it that way as well. And this is a newer feature, back channel, kind of like communicating back and forth. So that's neat. There's also maps if you want students to add content, and timelines that they can drag and drop and move around. So a lot of really cool types of ways you can set up your Padlet. I'm going to click on, I like them nice and organized into grids. So I'm going to click this one. And it kind of walks you through as a teacher how to get started titling it. And you can kind of come here later, different wallpapers and backgrounds. You can, make it as fancy or non-fancy as you want. So that's all there for you over here on the side. I'm going to click next so I can get started posting. And so what I want to show here is how do you post? Go away, please. Close. All right. So you can click this plus button, or you can just click twice here on the screen and it will allow you to have that little post-it note and you can title it, write something. But the power that I want to show you for assessment tools, so I'm getting short on time, is here on that, I call the laying down snowman. You have so many options. It's not just a post-it note that you can type into anymore. You can upload an entire file. You can, as you can see, put a link from somewhere. You can do a Google search. You can add audio. You can take a picture with your camera. You can take a video and put it all within here. You can record your voice. You can do almost like a screencastify of your screen and it will put it all right here within this Post-it. You can draw physically with your finger, with your trackpad, with your mouse. You can add a place, like drop a pin. And as a teacher, you could link it to another Padlet. So there are so many options that Padlet gives students and teachers to keep it all in a nice one collaborative space here. So that's very helpful. Let me move to, sorry, because I'm running short on time, the quick feedback. I've got about 2 minutes. So within feedback, to give feedback, you have to go within settings. And the two types of feedback are comments and reactions. And so within settings, you have to turn that on though as a teacher. And so here, as you can see there, it's automatically turned off. So if I want to give students feedback and I want them to also be able to give feedback to each other, I have to turn that on. As well as under reactions, they have options. You can either turn on like liking a post, like hearting it, think about like Facebook. You can upvote or downvote. So this could be a way to vote for something if you have multiple topics or opinions or ideas. You can star it. So if people like 1 through 5, you could do that. Or you can grade it. You can only choose one of these options at a time though. So on this Padlet wall, if I say I want students to be able to like it, that's the only thing. They can't like and give stars or so on. So you have to change that within settings, and then you click that save button. And now students have that option as well as teachers as when people have a post. So I'll call this test post. And as you can see now, I have that comment option and I can heart it if I want to or like it. So that's kind of that feedback there within Padlet. Like I said, make sure you come to these videos and rewatch them if you'd like. Same thing here. If you want a tutorial more in depth about giving comments and reactions, please come here. And here are our resources for later. Their YouTube channel is great, but something I also want to showcase is I love this feature that we used to not have. If you have the app on a device, so whether it's you're in Google Play Store on an Android or in iTunes, I downloaded the Padlet app on my phone, and they have something called a CAT scan feature. And this allowed me to take a physical anchor chart with Post-it notes. So if say you're in class and students, put their thinking on Post-it notes, but you want that digitally now to capture, to share with them. I was able to use the CAT scan feature to scan that anchor chart, and within seconds, it made a Padlet wall with those actual Post-its for me on the Padlet. And I was now then able to take that, and it's in I can share it, that link, I can put it share it out on Classroom and Seesaw for students to go refer back to, or for professional learning. If you're someone who hosts faculty meetings, you could, pull that back up for teachers so they can reflect back on their thinking from the last meeting. So many ways to use that feature. Since we don't have time for Rosalind to get to her, what we're going to call that digital dessert, keep in mind here within our slides, in slides 20 through 23, Ed Puzzles, what we're calling that digital dessert to take with you. If you want to dig back into this on your own at a later time. Also, these have videos for both assessment and feedback, as well as getting started, and also resources for later. So I'm going to come back to, so let Dr. White take back over to kind of finish.
Lauren, well, you've already undone it. Okay. You're still presenting. If you want to show that again, since we're just on that last slide, that's fine.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm back on. Okay. I clicked stop presenting, but my computer didn't take it. So that works for me. So here's that last slide. If you would go to here, this bit.ly, and I'm sure that Rosalind or Dr. White are going to put that bit.ly in the chat too. If you would click on this within the chat, or come to it, that's our feedback and reflection. As you can see, we just have a couple of questions for you just to give us some feedback. We have one more of these sessions here in 2 Thursdays from today. We'd love to know more about how we can improve to better meet the needs of our teachers here in Oldham County, as well as if you are someone who needs credit for attendance for professional learning. This is also how we're kind of collecting that data so that we know who is here. And we can share that with office managers or principals, whoever needs that information. So it's important that you fill that out for 2 reasons: for us to better improve and meet your needs, but also for you to get credit for being here tonight, because we appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you so much. Did we have any questions? We kind of jumped into the end because we wanted to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to complete that survey. But did anybody have any questions about the items that Lauren went over? I'm not hearing anything. We have about 2 minutes, so. Okay, well, like Lauren said, if you'll please make sure that you complete that form for us if you need that PD credit, and it also helps us. And it looks like maybe Ms. Harper has a question or comment.
Yeah, I was curious on the, like in an anchor chart, because I go in several different classrooms and they do anchor charts in the room. So you're saying I could, is that through my phone that I would need to take that picture and then?
Yes, good idea. Good question. Yes, that, what they call it, the CAT scan feature. You do need to use the app on a mobile phone to scan the actual Post-its on an anchor chart. But once you've done that, it creates that Padlet, it puts it there, and now that Padlet is in your teacher dashboard technically on any device. But just the initial scan to get them there does need to be through the Padlet app. So I'm saying go to your app store, download the Padlet app. Make sure you're connected with elizabeth.harper@oldhamkyschools.us. And when you go to add a new Padlet on there, you'll see that CAT scan feature and watch that video. It takes you through each step so you can see. And then once you scan it in, you leave the classroom, you've saved the Padlet. Now you can get to that Padlet on any device.
Right. Okay, that's good. I often leave rooms and think, oh, I wish I had that chart. So
right. Not only do your students probably wish sometimes they could refer back to that chart, and you can post it back to Google Classroom or whatever you want to from there then.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And we had another question, but it was more about Google Meet from Jessica about the blur background on a Chromebook.
It's not released yet. Google's going to have it, but right now it is only on the actual, on a desktop on the web version. So once they get, I don't know if it's kinks, but I keep reading about it. They're like, it's coming, but only right now on a desktop. It's not even on a mobile device. You'll notice on your phone or an iPad, it's not there either yet.
Awesome. Thank you. I was looking for it and I was like, I looked up how to do it and I was like, why is this not here? What am I doing wrong?
It should be right there for you. It's just not yet.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys.
You're welcome.
Bye.
So Lauren, a question that I had, you talked about going to the App Store. Are you aware if it's also available on Android to download the app?
Android, it said it was.
Okay.
Padlet shared, and on that video, I believe it says it is. It just, I don't have a Google phone to do it.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so we're